Welcome to the Nordic Talks, presented to you by the Caucasian Journal. Greetings from Tbilisi, Georgia. We are starting our second session. Today we speak about the higher and professional education.
I do think it is a strength in the Norwegian model that we do have a system where there are small differences in the sense that everyone feels they have access to education. Now, of course, people have different levels of intelligence and so on. That will always be the case, and different levels of dedication. But in general, I've experienced it as a strength. First of all, that there's not a strict hierarchy between the students, and so students can work more across groups more easily. I also that there is not a too strong hierarchy between the students and the teachers, especially as at this university where I'm working at, we have a focus on trying to have a low threshold for students to be able to speak with professors, and for giving help, perhaps sometimes a bit too low. But I do think in general that that's something that the students really enjoy, and that helps with their development. So that definitely are some of the strengths of the Nordic model, I would say.
I think there are some identifying factors. They're not unique to the Nordic countries, but they still, when you put them together, they are substantial. One is, of course, that we talked about yesterday, that the high proportion of the population end up with having access to higher education through their primary education. And so this also means that the accessibility of higher education is good. You're kind of not caught in your social demographic field, in a sense that most people will be able to come in a position where they can enter into higher education. The other thing is, of course, that traditionally higher education has been free in Norway and the Nordic countries. There are private institutions, but all the governmental public institutions are basically free. There is also a student loan system of student loans, of student housing, of student healthcare, in a sense that you don't have to be advantaged to be able to go into higher education. And it has been like this for a long time. And of course, the result of this is that it kind of builds on the factor that we are countries with a high degree of equality, in a sense that not a big social hierarchy. So I think that is a strength. And then, as was mentioned earlier, I think that this also transcends into the university. I've tried to study abroad, and one of the things that has been mentioned is the very closeness of the teaching staff and the professors to the students, in a sense that they eat in the same cafeterias, they interact with each other, and students are also, to a higher degree than many other countries, encouraged to actually challenge the positions of a professor or a teacher, in a sense that you can have an interchange. I have been to places where you are kind of expected to listen and then just note down what the professor said. Here, you're supposed to have a debate. I think that overall is a strength, but it can also be demanding, of course. And then lastly, we did a project with some African countries where we had an interaction of students coming from there to here and spending time. And at the end of their stay, what did they find most beneficial of studying in Norway? And you would think that it would be kind of free studies, access to housing, and so on. But what they also mentioned was that to come to a society where they felt safe at night, they felt safe going out. I'm not saying that Norwegians are the easiest to befriend, but it's a safe society. And they also mentioned things like access to high-speed internet, which was free, and things like that we don't think about, but it does constitute kind of the whole setting as a student, that you have the financial possibilities to study, you have access to higher education, you are encouraged to be active, and you are in a society where you can feel safe and where you have access to the tools that you need. So overall, even though none of these are perfect, I think that is kind of what makes up the Nordic model in a sense.
I'm Natso from the University of Georgia, and also I am in Georgia invited expert for Ministry of Education for accreditation and authorization of higher educational program. But recently, I graduated Arctic University of Tromsø. I obtained PhD degree in health sciences, and still my mentors are also attending this talk. First of all, that is student-centered learning. And this educational model prioritizes student-centered learning approaches, encouraging critical thinking, creativity, and problem-solving skills. All this prepares students for the global workforce, which is also very important in my field. I'm representing COSIS, and particularly I'm working in global health-related issue. So that is a big advantage for all of us. Additionally, what I want to mention that was also taught yesterday, very supportive learning environment, and the education system in Norway provides a supportive and inclusive learning environment with a focus on student well-being, and also that includes mental health, which is sometimes neglected or forgotten or not paid too much attention in countries like Georgia. And that is very attractive for all of us students who are enrolled in programs in Norway. Also, quite important strengths is English taught programs, and majority of universities in Norway and in Nordic countries as well, they offer programs taught in English, making them accessible to international students and increasing their global appeal. And finally, what I want to mention, and that is also differing at some time from Georgian experience, government support and funding. And majority of these universities, they are having strong government support and investment in education, ensure that institutes have the resources needed to maintain high standard and innovation. So that is the key features which I want to add from my side. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It is very important, especially as we're approaching our case studies, cooperation projects involving Nordic countries, Georgia and Armenia.
Good afternoon. I'm Nestan Tsitsishvili, Dean of School of Social Sciences at Georgian Institute of Public Affairs, GIPA, located in Tbilisi, Georgia. Very briefly about our experience, as you mentioned, case study. We have very close, let's say, working experience with University of Gothenburg, Sweden. And during 7 years, we have very, very interesting joint project, GIPA and University of Gothenburg, as we called SciUp. It's summer school for mid-career experts in migration and integration and resilience issues. We'll know that these issues are very crucial still today, and especially for other concrete regions and countries. So, as you are aware, Georgia has very a terrible experience in this case. We have displacement people here, we have refugees. So, and this summer school, summer academy, as we called it, really gives our participants a huge experience in this case. They, besides this lectures and teamwork, they visited our settlements and have very close, let's say, conversations, and our displacement people share their experience from the their personal emotions, experience, and it was really, really very valuable for them, as they then in their reports we have read that it was really very valuable experience for them. we try to continue this summer academy. Let's see how it happens, because we have not very easy situation in our country now, but we hope to continue, and we're happy to have such joint project with Sweden. It's very excellent people from their side as well, very helpful, very supportive. So again, it's my how to say, from my bottom of my heart, thank them and thank Swedish University of Gothenburg and the Swedish Institute who financed this project.
Thank you very much. Of course, I join your sincere thanks to the donors, because the Nordic donors are extremely important for our region.
Absolutely, absolutely.
One of the reasons why the Western donors are important is because of the orientation of our countries. Georgia and Armenia have been taking steps towards European integration. The major part of the population in Georgia and Armenia identify themselves as Europeans very strongly. And that's a very important asset. And education, of course, is the key element of this integration process. How EU membership or integration with the European Union may influence the national education policies?
We have been a part of a cooperation with Armenia, the NACAR project, where we looked at recognition of foreign education and best practices. So, of course, this is relating to the higher education system and how this is organized in Armenia versus in Norway and in Europe. We are a part of this system relating to the Lisbon Recognition Convention, where Armenia, Georgia also is are parts, and this has kind of the Bologna process, the recognition convention, has streamlined European education for many, many years. And I think that it's a promising situation in a sense that we are a part of the same system, and there is the same ways of organizing, the quality assurance, the recognition part, and so on. And looking from the Norwegian perspective, at least, we're not a member of the EU, but we are an associated member, so to speak, that it is possible both to keep kind of national traditions and traits and also be a part of a European system. So I'm not too worried about that. My experiences from Armenia is that in Norway, there's a high degree of public institution in higher education. As I've understood Armenia, there is a great variety of private higher education institutions. And it seemed to me that, like we talked about yesterday, about what you want with your primary education system, the same question can be asked for higher education. What are the goals? What are the responsibilities of government? What are the responsibilities that the market, so to speak, can do? And how can these two be balanced in a sense that gives us the output of education that the country needs? Whether it is Armenia, Georgia, Norway, it doesn't really matter. It seems to me that the important thing is that you know what you want to be the output of the higher education system.
I had the opportunity to be part of a project which Dog's organization helped to finance, the Eurasia project. We had a in cooperation with 3 higher education institutions in Kyrgyzstan and 3 other ones in Georgia. We were able to conduct a combination of a online course and summer school that I have to teach in English academic writing and publication. Because of course, one aspect of university accreditation is and work is, of course, the pedagogy and that's turned toward the students, but also for the professors or for the people, for the PhD students, they may have increasing levels of English as far as like capacity to write English, but there's also the conventions and expectations of academic writing that leads sometimes their research not to be accepted in some of the higher level journals in the English speaking community. And that's also part of this orientation. A lot of in the past, at least in Georgia, I know a lot of publications were in Russian speaking journals or Russian language journals, and they have a different level, I would say, many of them, of professional practices or different kinds of professional practices, different expectations for academic arguments, for evidence, and so on. A little bit more focus on those things, on academic writing, argumentation, as to follow the Bologna process in that sense, would help with that orientation, because obviously the universities will be oriented where a lot of the professors are publishing and the professional relationships that they make at conferences and other things.
I want to mention in addition that not only EU membership, which is our biggest desire, I mean, Georgian citizens and country in a whole, but even the process of closer European integration can significantly influence national education policies. And I want to list those advantages which we could have from top down. First of all, I want to say that will be very important towards the alignment with EU standards. And I'm not mentioning Bologna procedure because it started many years ago, but for instance, to ensure comparability in the standards and quality of higher education qualification, that's really important. And all those projects which we already have with Norway, mainly with Arctic University of Norway, really were helpful. Additionally, quality assurance and accreditation, especially for external and neutral evaluation, that will be a significant step forward to study experience from Norway and best practice. And that definitely strengthens the quality assurance mechanism in Georgia as well. Then additionally, what I want to mention, which is a big gap in Georgia, lifelong learning. And I think that we can advance this direction as well with our cooperative programs and promote of lifelong learning to improve skills and employability, which is also a big priority for you. And as I mentioned, that's a gap in Georgia still. What else? What I can say that is, of course, curricular development, their modernization, and dealing with those needs or demands which we are having right now, for instance, the digital literacy or data science or artificial intelligence, which is a really strong part of Norway, and we are stepping back, too much back in Georgia, but that will be demanded in our programs as well. What else can I mention regarding of process of making our country closer to European Union? Of course, it is cooperative programs and access to funding and resources, which gives you membership and promotes mobility and exchange programs, not only for our students, but for our staff as well, which fostering cross-cultural understanding and collaboration as well. So these all are quite a big benefits for us, and a membership or closer integration can lead to significant advancements in Georgian national education policies.
Hello, everybody. I'm Arnfinn Muruvik Vonen. I am a linguist and a professor at the Oslo Metropolitan University in Oslo. And I would like to briefly tell a few experiences that we have had in our collaborative projects. In fact, I've been involved in two projects, and we had we had collaboration partners, one university in Georgia, one in Armenia, and one in Azerbaijan. We were lucky enough to have access to an academic journal that could make special issue for our contributions. And so we had some good experiences of joint academic writing between colleagues from Norway and colleagues from the three South Caucasian countries. But if I may add, actually the success of this summer school format made it possible for us to actually convert an activity in another project that we had originally in collaboration with a Russian university. So after the sanctions against academic institutional collaboration with Russia came into force in 2022, we actually managed, with good help from our colleagues at Yerevan State University in Armenia, to organize a summer school event in Yerevan that had originally been planned for taking place in Russia, which was actually very, very fortunate side effect of the good academic relations that we had already built up through the Eurasia projects.
As you know, our goal is to produce practical recommendations. And therefore, my traditional question, which I asked already yesterday, is imagine you are a decision maker with a substantial budget for the next round of cooperation programs with our countries in education field. What would you suggest? What would you do?
I would like to work on joint research projects, which is very important for us as a School of Social Sciences. And also, it would be beneficial, Natia also mentioned about it, exchange programs. We do have plenty of them. We have have memorandum and exchange programs up to 80 European universities and some universities from the United States. And it's really the brilliant way to develop.
If I may be allowed to be quite frank, perhaps in some observations, I had a student that came from Georgia that studied at our university, and she was despairing because she could only be there for 1 year. She felt that she was so far below in levels of competition. Now, she was a very bright student, so I think sometimes she underestimated herself. But she said the fact that the teachers have PowerPoints, that they find us the literature rather than us having to go everywhere and find the literature for ourselves, that the teacher talks to the students rather than just standing up there and lecturing for an hour. All those things were big differences to her. It was a big change, made a big difference in her learning outcomes when she was in Norway compared, according to her at least, from what it was in Georgia. A separate thing from that, the kind of the pedagogical innovations that could be possible. A few things that I know about that are problems with being up to European level when it comes to academic publishing. As science, the science journal Science published recently, there were more than 800 papers retracted from Russian-speaking scientific journals, where it's showed that it's riddled with plagiarism, self-plagiarism, and so-called gift authorship, where people sign on to articles that they have not been a part of making, just to be able to boost their numbers. plagiarism is an issue not just for students, it's also for some faculty members. Good understanding of these kind of these standards and enforcement of these standards. Obviously, some of that hopefully will come with more cooperation with other European universities.
University in Norway are having especially toward of involved in doctoral studies. I was always jealous what kind of support supervisors are also having in a term of having regular trainings and sharing experience from other faculty members with best practice. And so I will implement such kind of programs in Georgia as well, which develop robust teacher and supervisors training program to improve not only their pedagogical skills, but to adapt new teaching methodologies and encourage their participation in such kind of programs. Another aspect, which I also want to say, that's encouraging public-private partnership and involving private sector in Georgia and in academic programs as well, because a lot of facilities, especially regarding of public health, are private in Georgia, and encouragement this partnership leverage resources and bring another expertise level as well, and sometimes also brings innovation, and that was really beneficial. And finally, what I want to say, this is research and innovation, support the research and innovation more, and have do mutual research activities for increasing sustainability of our programs and build a resilience, inclusive and high quality educational system in Georgia.
I suppose if I had a lot of money and a lot of decision-making power, there's a lot of things I could have done. One particular thing I was thinking of that would be very fruitful, I think, is to really ask the relevant institutions in Georgia and Armenia to evaluate their own experiences. I have been several times very much impressed by, for example, at the Tbilisi State University, how much international formalized cooperation they have, and we already also got an example of that earlier here, that there are so many programs, so many exchange schemes and so forth that the Georgian institutions are already a part of, and I'm sure that building on that experience, evaluating it, and deciding what would be the better next step is an initiative that to a large extent should come from the Georgian side and the Armenian side. Thank you.
To build on what Arnfinn said, is that to know your own institution and to evaluate where you are is important, and to continue the work on quality assurance in the institution, like was mentioned previously, that institutions have to have credibility when it comes to research, when it comes to education, and to I think that there are no easy or fast fixes in a sense that institutions sort of reflect society, as I mentioned earlier, but that you could do some moves to move you in the right direction over time. And I think that more activating the students more over time, I think will have a beneficial effect, kind of engaging them in the studies and making it more interaction. You could try these out with experiences using cooperation with European institutions, and then do exchange programs, do a cooperation between the institutions to kind of enhance and promote that. I think over time, this will kind of make the institutions sort of moving in a direction that could be talked about, like the Nordic model. I also think that countries this was one feedback I got from Armenia, that finances and the access to higher education is an issue. There's a lot of private institutions. They cost quite a lot of money. I don't know the situation in Georgia that well, but I think that to ensure access to higher education and that it's not so much limited on your family background and so on could be a way to good use of funds, establishing more student loans and so on. Thank you.
I'm originally from Batumi, represent Batumi State Maritime Academy. I had the pleasure of working with Professor David and also visiting USN, so also getting engaged in some academic writing, online course, and developing also joint articles. For us, it's very important to note that we definitely have some kind of maybe distorted legacy of post-Soviet Union kind of like so kind of research ethics, but as a result of internalization, exposure to projects, also webinars, also online in-person meetings, we are really learning. But of course, our students have opportunities right now, and so for us, it's very important to have kind of constant, regular kind of contacts with our international partners, and definitely have this lessons learned and best practices. And right now, it's maybe a good opportunity for me to be visiting Caucasian International University with a project within World Bank funded. So it is about developing higher education internalization, especially quality and research practices. It is a third, so kind of like inter-school in which we are kind of giving some lessons about how to develop intellectual property. The previous was about research proposal development. That's why I will be happy to be kind of like exposed to European standards, and this platform can be helpful for us.
May I also say that some of the challenges that new researchers in Georgia are facing when they go into kind of the European academic market, should I say, or presenting their things. Some of the things we also need to be more aware of in Norway, there are, for example, these practices of predatory journals and predatory conferences. For some people from Georgia, I met with them and they had an expectation that they had to pay in order to get their scientific work published, especially in the humanities, as not seen as a best practice. And it's important that there's a whole industry about this, and we're having challenges with that in Norway too. It's important that we ally against bad actors in the business or in our academic world, and that we try to build up and share best practices and the good networks, so that these young, brilliant researchers really from Georgia can come into the right kind of network where they're not wasting their efforts, but where their contributions will be heard and will receive the right kind of peer review.
I believe that our discussion was actually pretty good and effective. Thank you very much again. It has been a big pleasure for me to moderate those sessions.
Thank you. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you very much. I mean, it was very interesting. And as I say, it's never enough to talk. There's never enough time to talk about education. So thank you very much for this initiative.